You know me.
I know.
You can't do it without
Allie
me.
comes prepared.
Hey guys, welcome. Yeah, we're recording. So,
Good.
Okay.
we decided that we would be in the beach chairs for the summer shred discussion. So I'll be honest, as we're recording this, I'm just thinking like this is for like the last like maybe 2 or 3 spots in what you're doing. So if you learn something after you listen to this and you're already signed up and you want to back out, you're stuck now. Sorry. So we just thought we'd kind of run through kind of what this program is. I mentioned the other day I was thinking back to this, and so our summer shred program. I think I started this probably 8 years ago, and it was really just this, man, I kind of I want to kind of get some show muscle work in and kind of get ready for summertime. And so then it was like selfishly, I was like, oh, well, how could we do this? And so originally it started, and we were doing our CrossFit program, and a lot of our group clients, we did it more as an accessory program. So we had a nutrition component to it, and we did some nutrition coaching with it. And at that point, I don't even think we had a true nutrition coaching program. Are you sliding back? Hey, if Allie just goes backwards at any point during this video, her chair is broken.
We're trying real hard here.
We are holding it up with sandbags behind her.
There's 4.
Since we didn't have sand around the chairs, we just put them behind her chair. But yeah, so we had a nutrition component to it, and then we did kind of these 20 to 30 minute just extra work type things. People could get them in after classes, and that kind of flowed well for a while. We even did one during COVID. We ran a shred program during COVID, during shutdown, and so that was, we didn't even skip a year there. And then I think it was last year we decided, and I had kind of been leaning towards this as I had been experimenting and doing this stuff. I do a lot of PT training with my clients, and so while we do some CrossFit style stuff, we do a lot of just general strength training and more what I would call hypertrophy or muscle toning or muscle building type workouts. And so I started kind of experimenting with this stuff, and I told you guys last year, I was like, I want to do a class, like let's do this as a class. And so that's where we've evolved this program. So we have a 6-week program. It starts actually next Monday, the 17th, with nutrition coaching, with 3 in-person workouts a week with programming that are really geared around kind of the physique side of training to get us kind of just ready for summertime. So in the wintertime, like if you were, if you're trying to think about the seasons that we're in, like none of us are out in swimsuits and on the beach usually in the wintertime unless you're one of our snowbirds that work out in our Legends group, and then you guys are lucky. But most of us are indoors in the wintertime in the Midwest, and so we're not always concerned with how we look in a tank top or a swimsuit, but summer's coming, and so selfishly, we kind of want to maybe look a little better or lean up a little bit. Always a good opportunity to improve our nutrition. So we have this 6-week program. We do 3 classes a week. It's on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 5 p.m. in-house. We also have a nutrition coaching component, so we're just going to kind of talk through that. Let's start with the nutrition, though. So obviously, our philosophies around nutrition is really a lot around habits, behaviors, and developing better habits, better behaviors, and really not quick fixes, but trying to sustain long-term growth and development in nutrition and in our philosophies. And I think what I've realized the more and more we work with clients in nutrition is that we found like, man, our relationships with food are just so flawed in how we approach things. And so I know we've really adapted and adjusted our nutrition coaching program to kind of feed that a little bit. No pun intended there. But so 6 weeks is not a long time, but what is our focus for nutrition for clients as they work with us in this kind of like this 6-week vacuum? What are your guys' goals, or how will we approach nutrition coaching for our clients that work with us on this?
So this go around, we are doing strictly one-on-one nutrition coaching so that they can get an idea of like how Allie and I do one-on-one nutrition coaching. Even though we do it very similarly, it's instead of a group atmosphere, we're setting it up individually. So we get to meet with all of them one-on-one, set their own specific goals, and do it as if we were going to go for 6 months or a year of nutrition coaching. So they're going to get more one-on-one attention, more weekly check-ins based off of how we would normally meet with a nutrition client. And then from there, like you said, 6 weeks is generally not enough time to really get the big scope, but it's enough time to see like, oh, this is actually gonna something I can continue or pass the 6 weeks too.
I think that's really important the way you guys say this, because this kind of aligns with how we train people too, right? We train people in group settings sometimes, and I would call this a group program, right? We're in a group class, it's a group, we got 20 people, that's the max we're doing, and it's intentional because of the personalization we're supplying them. But I think this is really similar to how we do fitness, right? We do fitness in a group setting, and when we do fitness in a group setting, those workouts are customized to the individuals in a group setting. But essentially, the workout is the same. We just manipulate and adjust accordingly to each individual. Versus personal training, one-to-one coaching in fitness is, hey, this is your plan, your personal program, and it is completely personalized to you. And that's kind of how we're approaching the nutrition side now, is not, hey, this is the customized plan that everybody's doing, and then I'll just kind of tweak a little bit for you. No. This is, what are your personal goals? What are we trying to accomplish in the next 6 weeks? And knowing that this is really a 6-week jump-off point, that, hey, we're going to do some really deep dive personal coaching, but knowing that, hey, this could pursue longer than that too. Anything else to add on that, Allie?
Not a whole lot. That we are usually in the shred, we've done more of a group coaching kind of thing, but we felt like this would be a great opportunity for our members who've maybe never done the nutrition coaching side of it to get a real understanding of what that looks like. And it is different for every person who does nutrition coaching. We don't have a set template because, like you said, everybody comes in with their own hang-ups about nutrition, and for some people it might be I stress eat, and for some people it might be I don't even understand the difference between protein, carbs, and fat, and some people it's like I hear this and this and there's so much nutrition information coming at me all the time I don't even know where to start. And so for a lot of our folks who've never done nutrition coaching before, this may look like that first 6 weeks is just focusing on the basics, understanding what quality nutrition looks like and how you can tweak what you're already doing to optimize your nutrition without overhauling your life, because we can't do that in 6 weeks, but we can make small changes that are going to make a difference.
I think that's huge, and I mean, again, it all relates to how we do everything in our business. Like, from starting with us in fitness, like, what do? We sit down with somebody on a free consultation. Why? Because we truly want to know, what are your goals? What are your problems you're trying to solve? What are your pain points? Like, what issues have you had with fitness or nutrition in the past? And then providing them a prescription accordingly, but that's a personalized prescription. Or being able to also say, like, hey, we just may not be the answer for you, and that's okay too. But like you said, the personalization is so important, because I think about this, like, where somebody will come in and like, well, aren't I supposed to track my food? And I'm like, maybe. Like, well, but I thought I was supposed to drink this much water. Maybe. Like, but I also have people that, if they're like, well, I just, I'm drinking a gallon of water a day because I saw this on this thing. I'm like, cool. All right, well, like, then I can't say that that's a step I need to take with you. So, but if you're never eating protein in any meal, like, and I always try to think about it, and I know that we've done a lot of this from, like, what are they motivated to change right now in the 6 weeks, and then attacking that, right? Because if I come in there with this template of like, well, these are my expectations, well, what are their expectations, right? And I think that's so important. And the fact that, like, you guys are approaching this from this is how we do this on a one-to-one level, even if we were doing this long term. And that's one thing I think is important for our clients to know. And I know that you guys do a good job about this when you sit down with them to talk about their goals initially. We do an in-body scan, and typically the reason we do that in-body scan, and I always, like, somebody will say, like, I don't want to see how fat I am. Like, no, it's taking in body composition to know
much more.
how much skeletal muscle mass you have, so that I know around how much protein we need to really be taking in. And by the way, like, if we know where your body fat's at, we know where your skeletal muscle mass is at, then we can determine what your basal metabolic rate is, or your base level of calories that you need is. And then now we can feed your body accordingly and appropriately for the goals that you have. But that piece of it needs to be personalized, and then to know and say, hey, I know we're gonna attack these things in the next 6 weeks. That being said, for the goals that you have, I just want to make you aware, this is not a 6-week goal. It's probably a 6-month goal, or even a 12-month goal, and to give them realistic expectations as they go as well. And I think, Alyssa, I know I've seen you post this. Allie, I'm sure you post this as well. It's like, the progress that we make over like a 12-month period is really way more important than how much progress we make in like a 6-week window, right?
Yeah.
But the 6-week window can be a nice jumping off point. So, cool. Well, I'm really excited about the nutrition component. And again, I think this is a perfect example of, for those of you that have done the shred before with us, and then you're like, oh, I've already done that. Like, this is why we do this every year, and we adjust every year. And we adjust every year because we want to continue to deliver an awesome product to our clients. Yeah, there are some things that we find that really work well, but there's also some things that we're like, you know what, let's make it, like, perfect example. Like, oh, we do classes now. Why? Because I felt, from a programming perspective, that I couldn't get the right stimulus perfect until I was in front of you, coaching you on the movements. Yes, right. And that's what we do here, right? We don't provide programming, we provide coaching. And so that's a key ingredient, doing the one-to-one stuff. Heck, years ago we used to do meal plans. We don't do that anymore. So there's a lot. If you've done this program before and it's been a while, I encourage you to like try it out again. I promise you a lot of things have changed. And oh, by the way, you guys are going to do an in-person meal prep day, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so and maybe some people I know I told a couple buddies about this and they signed up and they didn't even know about it. So I was like, there's a value add for you guys if you didn't know about the meal prep. But you guys are so cool that we've got Villa Hills Fire Department that are going to donate their kitchen for us to use, and we're going to do a meal prep course to because I think that's a key ingredient when it comes to nutrition too, is that all of it makes sense to me until I have to go do the grocery shopping or until I have to make the food and then it's like, oh wait, well how do I do that? You guys are actually going to be in person with them and sharing tips and tactics on how to actually build an appropriate meal plan and do the meal prep side of things. My wife always jokes with me, she's like, you know, like I go to meal prep something, it takes me 3 hours. Josh has like 10 meals done in 45 minutes. And it's like, well, first of all, I keep it really simple because I'm lazy. But it's like, it's that little piece of like, there's little tips and tricks to keep it quick, to keep it easy. And that's awesome that you guys are going to be able to share that with them.
Yeah, we're excited about that.
Very excited. I think it'll be a really fun little time for people to come in and experience like how we do it, because that's what we're going to show. We're not doing anything like extra fancy. Like you said, we both keep it pretty simple, but we also both do it regularly. Like every week we have food prep for lunches and dinners, and then you're going to get an opportunity to actually help prep stuff with us. So if you are a person who's never chopped up veggies before, hey, you get to chop up some veggies with us.
Nice.
We will not be able to tell you how to use the knife, but we did take a class. We should know, but I still have not used those tools.
we will teach you how to use a knife without cutting your finger off, at least. Yeah.
Do they sign a separate waiver?
Yes, let's make up a completely separate waiver.
I'm going to need to talk with our attorneys on this, I think, now that I think about this.
But no, it's going to be a really, really good time, and we're excited to be able to offer that. And thanks to Steve, Alan, and Angie for letting us use their kitchen.
Yeah,
Very
that's
cool.
so awesome. Very cool. Awesome.
So, did you want to talk a little bit more about what kind of fun stuff you have in store for them during the classes?
Oh, do I have some fun?
Oh, I know.
So
I remember last year. And
yeah.
the year before.
I think even Alyssa, I don't know if you've seen any of these workouts. I know I gave Alyssa like access to some stuff to sample and play with as I've been kind of experimenting. But yeah, so I think just the evolution of where my body's been for the last year and my goals. Like I still do our CrossFit workouts, you know, all the time, but you know, you turn 38 and you're like, yeah, I just like you have to work. I was talking with a client of mine now. I won't share their age, but they're one of my older clients, and I was sharing with them. I was like, here's the downfall of aging: is like you got to work like 3 times as hard for the same exact results, and then later on you got to work 4 times as hard for the same exact ones. And so I've found over the years is like, for me to maintain the physique that maybe I would prefer, it takes more actual like physique work. So I started seeking out some options and some alternatives, and I just started tinkering and playing. And I knew this whole time, I was like, I mean, this is all just research for me. And I truly believe as trainers, as coaches, like part of what we do is experimentation. Like programming, that's all it is, right? Programming is always an experiment. You're always testing things and evaluating things and tweaking things and adjusting things. And so I started kind of down this path probably 6 or 8 months ago, and I just started tinkering and playing. And all my clients are lab rats. I consider them that. This is my lab, and I love doing that. So I started playing with some full body type workouts because what we've done in the past, even when we did like multiple days and even coached classes, is that we would focus on kind of like either one body part or two body parts, and kind of the traditional bodybuilding split, if you will. But we have a foam roller getting ready to take out our camera.
Rogue foam
Wow,
roller.
that's my foam roller that I didn't put away after class. This is on me. That would have been so cool.
I'm coming right
I
out.
was just gonna let it go and
Yeah,
see what happens.
Just see what happens. So anyways, I started kind of playing with the idea of like, all right, well, how could we get like a full body approach to this? Because we only have 3 days of training. We don't want to overload a client because we do have a lot of clients that are going to do our CrossFit classes, but then also trickle in these workouts. And unfortunately, like when you tell our clients like, hey, you should take a rest day, they don't understand what that means actually and how that helps the body. So we'll talk a little bit about that with the people that participate. But so I started working with some full body approaches. So one of the things I adapted some different research that I did and took a look at. So what we'll take from a training is each day that they come in, they'll do one movement per body part. When they do that one movement per body part, one of the main lift will kind of be a key. So so there'll be a main leg movement for the day. There'll be a main upper body movement for the day. There'll be a main back or posterior chain movement for the day of those 3 days, but we'll always hit every body part. So what that allows for us to do is keep the volume on the body down a little bit, which is beneficial to our clients because sometimes, especially in a CrossFit setting, volume is up because they do higher rep workouts maybe, or they're training 6 days a week, while still getting like every week you'll still get 3 movements dedicated to a certain body part. So that's one shift that we've made. Is that the other thing too is like people are busy, right? So say if I took a long weekend and I missed Monday's training session, I don't miss an entire body part. I only miss one of the days of all the body, and I still get 2 full body days in there. So it doesn't mess me up to where I completely missed, legs. Right? Yeah, right. Which who's gonna get mad at missing legs, right? But I'm a fan of legs. So that being said, so that's one thing that you can expect is every day that you come in, you will do every body part. Now, that being said, that will you'll feel like maybe your whole body's sore the entire week, but the volume kind of fluctuates and adjusts accordingly. So the other thing that we're going to do is so that we can hit in a 3-day training cycle every 2 weeks, so that we can hit every body part for a main lift, we're going to kind of alternate movements. So for example, week 1 you might do bench press for your upper body main lift. Week 2 you're going to do shoulder press, right? So you have 2 different planes of motion addressing chest, but then also addressing shoulders. Same thing with back exercises. So 1 week we'll do deadlifts, another week we'll do pendlay row as the main lift. The other thing too is that we're going to incorporate a little bit more core specific stuff. So that's a little different because when we took everything we do in functional training is working our midline or our core. So very seldom, unless you have a conditioning workout that says, hey, we're doing sit-ups or toes to bar, we don't necessarily do the classic 8-minute abs, stuff like that. So that stuff will trickle into our training, which is important. And then the other piece too, and I shared this with you guys yesterday when we were going over programming, is actually some calf work. And when I started tinkering with doing my calves again, I got to a point where I was like, oh, I'm still sore from the last day I did calves 7 days ago. Because as much as we do jump rope and box jumps and everything else, doing isolated lower leg work is oh man, these muscles are actually a little neglected in some isolated work. And so that's something that will trickle in. I know you guys remember from last year, tempo work, right? So time under tension, I call it King Tut. But time under tension work that not only is creating massive influx of blood and strain to the muscles, but then also it's helping to improve tensile strength of the tendons and the ligaments, and increasing stability. The cool thing about that is we don't do a ton of that now. I will say Coach Sam does a great job of trickling that into our CrossFit programming, but that slow-paced work really carries over to someone when they start to move fast again. And we don't get that a lot in the CrossFit setting, and most people don't. So having that trickle in on a muscle building level only increases our capacity and our ability when we move back into kind of the CrossFit setting. And that's really the key thing too, is I think the reason why our clients see such great results when it comes to this summer shred program is that they get some of these pieces like into the accessory pieces that we do or some finishers and things like that, but they for the most part aren't doing a lot of bodybuilding. And I say that loosely, right? Like muscle building, muscle development, like that's all important, right? Whether you're someone who says like, well, I don't want to get bulky, like you got to eat to get bulky. And I know you guys are going to handle that from the nutrition side, but the training side is really just developing muscle fibers, growing muscle fibers. The more muscle we grow, the more muscle we develop, the more effectively we burn calories, the higher our metabolic rate is, and that helps us burn fat more. So it's really more advantageous to our metabolic needs in our body to build muscle. And we don't always do this type of stuff in the CrossFit setting, so I think our clients respond really well when they get this little dose here. So the other thing too is that we find, a lot of clients, like when they start, and I wouldn't say just our clients, but just a lot of CrossFitters in general, they develop those like nagging things, like the patellar tendonitis, the elbow tendonitis stuff, the rotator cuff impingement stuff. And so a lot of times when we slow things down and really work on developing all the muscle structures around, strengthening those areas that don't get isolated work, a lot of that stuff starts to go away. And that's because we're improving the strength there, so that when you go and do 100 air squats or I don't know how many toes to bar or push press or whatever else, those structures are kind of prepared for that.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would say that this is probably the most front end work I've done when it comes to the shred program to like get ready for this. Is done a lot of experiment and thrown out what I don't like. And again, like I'm not this like unicorn either. So I find that sometimes with bodybuilding stuff, like we do things and it actually like tweaks more things, especially the single joint movement stuff. So I've played with things and I'm like, that kind of makes my shoulder hurt, or that kind of makes my elbow hurt, or over this many days of training, like I feel this in my knees. And so I've kind of thrown that junk out and then just really held on to the things that I think are most beneficial. And so that's been really effective for me as I've kind of built this plan out. And then the only other thing I would say is that, again, even though it's a group program, we're going to customize it to everybody. So we have, I think I looked at the list and we've got clients in their 20s and we've got clients in their 60s and everybody in between. And so, if you're someone out there like, well, I can't do that, I can't do this. This is very, number one, if you don't do our CrossFit program, it's very beginner friendly. So you can come in off the street not having really any knowledge, and we're going to take care of it because it's not, it's not a bunch of crazy stuff.
Right.
So it's very beginner friendly. The other thing is we're going to scale and modify and adjust accordingly to everybody's needs, just like we always do in every one of our group classes. And then the third thing probably is that it's not CrossFit. So yes, the name of the door is going to say CrossFit Metro East. When you walk in, it's not going to look like CrossFit. We're just going to be getting a lot of work in. So.
So one of the questions that we were kind of thinking about, if we were thinking what would someone who's deciding to do this or not ask us. And so one of the things that we figured would be a pretty common question is what can I expect as far as results, right? And so in our head, we were thinking, well, working out, you just kind of explained the exercises, what we're trying to do. We're trying to strengthen, we're trying to get some show muscles popping. We've built programming that should do that if someone is consistent with coming in, but also that answer depends, and it depends on the people doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on your participation, and a lot of it, you could show up for every single, you'd say you could probably show up for every single one of those workouts, put in the work, but if you're not also making some changes with nutrition, those results probably aren't going to be as drastic as you would expect them to be. Remembering, it's only 6 weeks. So,
yeah.
Again, this is looking long term. We can see some pretty big results in 6 weeks if we combine those two things together, but we also have to be putting in the work on both sides. So that was kind of what we were thinking. A lot of people aren't sure, like, should I do this? Will I get what I want out of it? And I think it depends on what you want to put into it. Kind of
Yeah, so we've kind of tracked some metrics over the years when we've done the shred stuff, and I can tell you this: if someone, and this is even when we were doing like just accessory program, if someone did the work, did the stuff that was expectations, and I always try to, like, when I talk about expectations, I always try to take, I always tell somebody, like, well, you got to match expectations with effort, right? And so that's, if expectations are here and effort is here, then that's what you can expect. Like you're going to get upset because your effort isn't where expectations are. And that doesn't mean lower expectations. It means that, like, if your expectations are here, then you need to rise to the level of that when it comes to effort. And so I always try to share with somebody, like, listen, if you're 80%, well, so first of all, let me go back. So for years, I've always shared with somebody, like, from a weight loss perspective, if all things are right, I always tell somebody, like, listen, my expectation is you can lose about 1 pound to 2 pounds a week on a structured nutrition plan and a structured training plan. Like that, and if you are diligent to that. So 1 pound to 2 pounds. So in 6 weeks, I would say that you could lose 6 to 12 pounds if everything is 100%, okay? Right. I can't guarantee that, but I can tell you, like, that would be my expectations for you. A lot of other factors come into play there, but there you go, right? Now, that being said, if you're 90% compliant, then expect 90% of those results. If you're 80% compliant, so on and so forth, right? Like, so the more compliant you are, the better chances you have of hitting that 6 to 12 pound mark. That being said, it also is goal dependent. So if my goal isn't to lose 12 pounds, then gosh darn it, like, I'm not gonna be real happy if that happens,
Josh
right?
would be mad.
Yeah, like when somebody goes like, "Oh, you're looking lean," I'm like, "Gosh dang it, what did I do?" Right? Like what are you talking about? I mean,
Josh wants to gain 12
yeah,
pounds
right.
on shreds.
So that being said, though, the other piece to this is, I think the other piece to this from a weight loss perspective, and this is why the in-body scan that we do is so important, because we are so much more focused on body composition. And like you said, the goal here is to build muscle, right? So if we have a client that comes in and say they weigh at 150 pounds and they go back and they go 6 weeks through it and they weigh at 143 pounds, and they're like, or I'm sorry, 47 pounds, and they're like, "Oh, well, I only lost 3 pounds, and you said I could lose 6 to 12 pounds, and I did everything automatic." And I go back and I look at their body comp and I go, "Well, you gained 2 pounds of skeletal muscle mass." Like, that matters from a body comp standpoint. So, and I'm not saying that that's automatic going to happen, but when we typically find with a program like this, is I call this the jackpot. And the jackpot is, like, if you can increase muscle mass and decrease body fat mass, that's called the jackpot,
yeah.
right? Because most of the time it's difficult to increase muscle mass when you're on maybe a caloric deficit because you're trying to decrease body fat or whatever else. So because of the type of training that we do here and how good you guys are at managing somebody's nutrition, a lot of times the total weight on the scale may not change that much, but their body comp, we see drastic shift in their body comp just in 6 weeks. And again, it's only 6 weeks, but those are my expected results. But again, expectations have to match effort. And so compliance is key to that. But I find even, like, and I don't know about you guys, but I even find if I get a client drinking 100 ounces of water a day, like,
They're
it's
gonna see
amazing.
something.
It's amazing their water weight that sheds
Yeah.
in 2 weeks, right? And so that's something, like, when you lose, you might lose 3 pounds, and it's like, oh, that was just how much water my body was holding on to, right? So, and then the other piece to that is, as we build muscle holds on to water. And so when you see, like, when I do a body scan with somebody, if their skeletal muscle mass increase, I can almost guarantee that their body water also increases on that scan. Again, so important to have those scans to be able to see that stuff and break that down with a client. But yeah, I mean, it's all about compliance. It totally is. Yes, there are alternative factors that come into play, but if someone does the work, I truly believe, like, yeah, you can lose 6 to 12 pounds. And if somebody has a 40-pound weight loss goal, like, hey, I know that that's not exactly where you want to be, but I know that if you lose 10 pounds during this 6 weeks, gosh darn it, like, I feel really good about the sustainable changes you made on your way to the rest of this goal, right?
Can't lose 40 pounds without losing 10 pounds.
Right.
So
My expectations are really good calves.
really good. Kids.
Really good caps. We got this.
Yes.
She's gonna be walking around hardly like
Yes.
gimping around, but she's gonna have great calves.
Confidence.
Yeah.
So you mentioned we were going to talk jump back to talking about, we've had some people ask, are these workouts in members that are currently doing our CrossFit have asked, are these workouts in addition to our CrossFit workouts, or do we need to be maybe modifying the days we do CrossFit to, since we're adding in these extra workouts? And so I think that answer, like a lot of answers we have, is a little bit of it depends.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree. Yeah, it is a it depends answer, only because I could speak to it really depends on your training age. And so what I mean by that is that doesn't mean, well, I'm 60, so I can do 2 days a week or 4 days a week, whatever, right? Like your training age. So like Coach Sam always jokes, like my training age, like I started lifting when I was like 11, right? So my training age is a lot of years now, you know, of training and my body's ability to sustain volume and reps and technique and all that stuff, right? But that being said, it also varies on your ability to sustain the other things like nutrition and sleep and hydration, right? So because these workouts are fully sustainable workouts to do as a standalone workout. So if someone, I've got some friends that don't do our CrossFit program, they're going to jump into this program with us, and they will do these workouts 3 days a week, and they will be fully sustainable workouts with nothing additional, right? So they are hour-long workouts, and I promise you, you will feel like you got a workout when you are done. If you chose to do what I would call a double-day workout, then it depends all on what you're doing outside of training to get your body to recover well. So if you're someone who's on a caloric deficit, and then you also want to put your body into a more drastic deficit because you've now trained for 2 hours a day instead of the normal 1 hour a day, that definitely makes a difference. And so what I've experimented with is like, okay, I've actually practiced this at a 5-day program. So I've done this for 5 days a week, and when I've done it for a 5-day-a-week program, I only did CrossFit 3 days a week. So there was still 2 separate days that I only did the lifting, and then there was also one of those days that I only did CrossFit. And so my recommendation is if someone is going to like, hey, I still want to be able to come to CrossFit 5 days a week, or 4 days a week maybe, because people are like, why aren't you open on Sundays? I was like, because none of my clients would rest then if I did, because they would just come on Sundays now. Like they'll come as many days as we're open, right? Yeah. So even getting like one of my clients who was like 65, this is a few years ago, and they were like, I just feel like I'm really sore by Thursday. I'm like, okay, so take a rest day and come back on Thursday or Friday and Saturday. And they're like, I never thought of that. I'm like, yeah, like just train 5 days instead of 6. Like it makes sense. But so my recommendation is if you're going to double up, you don't want to double up in a workout like this with these guys 2 days in a row, right? So like my recommendation is, all right, hey, if you want to double up and you want to get to CrossFit class on Monday and then come to shred on Monday as well, cool. But then Tuesday you only do shred or you only do CrossFit, which again, shred's only on Tuesday, so do shred. And then if you wanted to double up again, double up on Thursday, right? What we don't want to see is double up Monday, double up Tuesday, be so sore by Wednesday that you're just like dragging yourself through the CrossFit workout, and then Thursday you show up and you're like, oh, I'm still sore actually from Monday and Tuesday of 4 hours of working out instead of 2 hours of working out, because people don't think about the time on the body, right? And then they think like, oh, I can just keep eating the way I'm eating, sleeping the way I'm sleeping, drinking the way I'm drinking, and then they're like, oh no, I need to do more in recovery to sustain from that. If an Allie here, I know she's got nutrition dialed in, training age dialed in, sleep dialed in. I mean, like, she goes to bed and I'm like, I still have like an hour of kids things I have to do. Like, how are you even going to bed right now? I don't get home from hockey practice till 10 p.m., right? So that being said, if you wanted to do that 3 days a week, I know that there's dialed in pieces that are going to allow your body to sustain to do that. And I also know that you can listen to your body and adjust if that didn't work out. So they are self-sustaining workouts without any other extra work. But if somebody did want to double up, I think you got to double up smart, and you got to talk to your nutrition coaches about wanting to do that so that they can adjust. Because even on those days of double days, I believe calories need to adjust, intake needs to adjust to accommodate and support that extra effort. So
100%.
yeah.
Awesome. got a few questions on was, what about people who can't make it to all of the classes in person? Should they still do the shred?
I just had a guy message me while I was in my workout that I think he lives in Tennessee and he's doing the shred. He's not gonna make any of the classes. So yeah, you can do this without the classes. Now we are a coaching company, right? So we always stress that like the best results, the best thing that we can do for you is coach you, right? Because if you're doing this on your own and you're like, wait a second, I'm not sure about this, I'm not sure about that, well then like how do you adjust? And obviously you want to use your coach. Now, so while we can do this remotely and that's a little different of a coaching program for that person and we have systems in place for that, yes, you can do this on your own. I encourage you like, hey, do your best to make it to classes. That being said, if you can't, like for our clients, we have those open gym times. They align with our group CrossFit classes that are available. Clients can do that in an open gym setting. But lean on your coaches, especially if you're newer, come to class, right? If you're a little bit more experienced, a little bit more advanced here, and you just can't make that based on schedule, cool, all right, then work with us on doing the open gym slots, but still lean on your coaches to help you adjust and modify and ask questions. Yeah. So, cool. Well, I'm super pumped. Again, I think we make changes and adjustments every year to make this program better, and it's probably the only reason we've continued to do this. I truly don't know if we have any spots left. We might have a couple more based on who we've got in, but we are packing the house for this
Getting
one.
close,
So
yeah.
Getting close. What did we say? We want everybody to kind of try to get signed up by Friday, right?
Yes.
Because we want to start getting scans done and get those initial meetups done for nutrition stuff, and then we start classes on Monday, 5 p.m. ready to roll.
Yeah, if you're already signed up, expect to see an email coming through tomorrow from Coach Alyssa and myself with several links. One to sign up for your initial consult sometime next week. One to get on our Facebook group, because we are going to have a Facebook group for you guys to have that community and just that sharing of resources. There will be a few other links in there, information you'll want to make sure you check out. So keep an eye out for that email if you're already signed up. If you're not already signed up, do it so you can get that email.
Yeah.
Awesome. See you guys.